delegates. Please welcome Professor Dr. Michael Paroussis, the head of the Department of Philosophy in the University of Patras.
So I'm very happy and glad to be with you this year, same like last year, the MUN of the Arsacion, to which we cultivate very close links with the University of Patras and the Department of Philosophy very particularly. So I was asked to make some comments on the forms of governance that we experience today in view of the fight against the pandemics. So there is nothing which is without consequences, as you know, and sometimes the consequences are very, very hidden or very unexpected. We start managing a situation, and at the end we receive a totally different end or a totally different new reality after having fought against some calamity like the pandemics now. I can remind you to the book of Michel Foucault, who has written a study about surveillance and punishment in our society. And his book, which is written in view of the penal system or of the disciplinary system of the penal law, starts with some technologies of power that have developed in Europe when we faced another pandemics in the Middle Ages, which took the life of 30% of the European population. And that was the initiation of what he calls the medical view of society. So where all had to be noticed, all had to be calculated and written down, and where they developed a system of surveillance in society, going from the house to the street, to the corner, to the district, and then to the city. We had a system of controls and a system of powers that have then changed the possibilities of the absolutistic power at the end of the Middle Ages, the absolutistic monarchy. So where are we today with all this? Today we live in the so-called democratic rule of law state. This is the standard, let's say, I don't say that we have this art of governance everywhere in the world, but it is a standard. It is also a value, something we seek to attain, to reach more democracy, more rights, more liberty. Because the central point of all political tradition in the last 3 centuries is one and only, and this is how can we implement values of liberty in our life. So I think we live experiencing 2 things in society: the me, the I, so what we are, and the us, what surrounds us socially, what surrounds us in the form of other people. So we have the identity and we have the alterity, which we experience. And this me and this us have to happen under conditions of maximum liberty. So we distinguish by that 2 spheres of existence. One sphere is the private sphere, the individualistic realm of existence. And the other sphere is the public sphere, the common, what is shared with others. And in the sphere of our individual liberty, we are persons. We seek to guarantee free of the respect of privacy, and we also have a right to secrecy. These are aspects of individuality. So personality, privacy, secrecy. What we called in the ancient times the home. What is our home, which is inviolable by others? It's all closed private sphere. And on the other part of our life, on our common life with others, we have the public liberty, which is to be faced under one special condition of recognition of our existence, and this is the condition of human dignity. So human dignity is, to me, the central value of our political system, and is the core of our conception of liberty, because we are only then free when we are no means to other ends, or to ends that are outside of our own interest, of our own concern. So in a democratic state, as we know, two aspects of realization of the liberty. One is the people's sovereignty, so the legitimization of all powers in the people's will, and the second is the recognition of basic rights. So these two aspects makes out of private persons public citizens. The people is the basis of democracy. Now, I suppose that the pandemics cause a crisis in the balance between the public and the private sphere. And that's the problem of today's politics. How we face this separate. The private becomes a public concern. And that's where we should put our attention. Because, first of all, our private life is now facing restrictions that were unthinkable some years ago. Decisions that had to be taken only based on our own will, revelation, for example, now become a matter of public policy of or public obligation, or obligation for some cases to be vaccinated. Whereas until now, every medical intervention in bodies was a matter of our own decision. Second, we have a new balance in the management of personal data. What was private matter, like health, or like conditions of our bodily constitution, now become also a public matter. So we have a certain drift in what we called until now the respect of personal data, which was the recognition of personality or privacy. This is, and the second problem is in the public sphere, we also a new balance in all basic institutional structure, which is until now understood for a separate powers. We knew that in democratic state to distinguish between legislative power, executive power, and judicial power. What happens now? A new structure, a new balance between all constitutional parts, elements, the state. And I would say that we live in a hypertrophy of executive power. So we are ruled not by law, but decree. And this is a huge difference. A law and a decree are legal sources, are normative basis for all behavior. But a law is produced that is by an independent, theoretically independent body of legislators. And what legislators as the normative frame for action, private person or for governments, now drift to a unit. The government governs by decree, that is through a decision. The constitutional body is relevant or legislation. And when we have this hypertrophy of the executive power, then we lose a very important element of all democracy. This checks and balances system where the legislative power controls the executive power and the judicial power controls the other two. It requires a serious management. Where are the limits then? Where are the limits from the private responsibility principle to a paternalistic state, which is a state of providence and care? When we expect the state to make all decisions, to take all decisions, we say goodbye to a society where the state has no such power. We criticize always in liberal political philosophy, the danger of paternalism when we spoke of social, the political rights, as you know, we have the human rights, but we have also the social rights, work, the right to maternity, the right to childhood. These are not negative rights, these are positive rights, a claim of the society to the state to organize structures for public health, public education, for public systems of unemployment help and support, or for a system of pensions after work. So these are social rights. And always the critic was the social rights guide all liberal society to paternalism. We have paternalistic principle where the state decides about all through another widow. And that's a very important thing to notice. And the people are no more the people, the body that legitimizes power. The people are today the mass of infected or infectable persons, individuals. We are in new categories. We are vaccinated, we are not vaccinated, we are people that already have the disease, people that are vaccinated but have the disease. So we have a new statistic and a new attribution of qualities to these people of democracy who a huge mass of data and a huge new plan for categorizing. So we live now in a sort of what I would call instructional society. We live by daily instructions. You have to go there, you have to take these measures, you have to wear a mask, you have to take the vaccine. And this is the instructional spirit of a paternalistic state that organizes defense against risk, but on the other side, should pay attention so that this does not override all principles of a liberal society. And so, until now, we had a basic system of constitutional rights that were played from the bottom to the top, from society to the government. And now these rights degenerate to a new system of from to the bottom instructions and the introduction of more and more public obligations of all of us. No more rights, but too many obligations. Question is, this is the last question, if there is a right of the citizens to an effective government, can we claim effective government? Can we claim policy is effective against the disease, against the pandemic? I think we should have this right. We should have a government that is competent, that is also effective in its actions, but under three conditions. And the first condition is the functioning of a deliberative democracy, so open dialogue, not just following instructions. We should discuss about policies. We should discuss in all possible fora, in the internet, in the Facebook, in every social network. We should discuss, not just or agreement or express or bad intentions, but arguments for and against happens and what has to happen and about what we have to pay attention. The second is, in order to do this deliberative system of democratic dialogue, we need participative institutions. We participate society in referenda about measures, about necessities, and have to include the people to the decision of decisions, because people must take a decision in view of the possibilities of the new realities. We are now in the same place. Third one is accountability of the official. Accountability are the three stones against any paternalism of the until now liberal democratic state. So we have seen that the management of the risks of pandemic engenders the possibility of drift to a new despotism. And this is what I would ask you to be aware of and to have an open mind on how we can survive the pandemic without make our democracy dead. So thank you. That was my contribution.
Thank you very much, Professor Paroussis, for your speech.
Thank you.
If there are any questions, please don't hesitate. I would be glad to answer questions or your concerns. And I'm at your disposition.
So, is there any questions to our special guest? If you have any, you can show your like.
I suppose you would alone with me.
I guess there are no
Fine.
questions, so
Okay, fine. Then
thank you very much for coming.
thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much.
Hope it was necessary and helpful. Okay, bye-bye. I wish you good continuation of your works. Bye.
Goodbye. Thank you very much.